Welcome to Brains Behind the Business, brought to you by Accomplishr, the platform empowering experts everywhere. Each week, we go behind the scenes with coaches, consultants, and thought leaders to unpack some of the boldest moves and smartest strategies across industries. You'll also hear expert insights to support your own professional growth, whether you're building a business or leveling up your career. Let's dive in. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Courtney. I am the CMO at Accomplishr. And today I am speaking with Daniel Mason, and we are going to be talking about his experience in his coaching and mentoring business and also the Accomplishr platform. So Daniel, did you want to kick it off? Tell us a little about yourself and your business.
Yeah, sure, of course. So my background, I've been working as a full stack software engineer for 4+ years now. And part of my business is that I mentor and coach new grads or people who are looking to book to break into the tech industry. And part of that involve working with Accomplishr to help people achieve those goals.
That's fantastic. So what do you see as kind of one of the most impactful ways that the Accomplishr platform can assist you with those goals of working with new grads? Is it the Book Now feature one-on-one type of meetings? Is it the fireside chat kind of like larger scale webinar? Is it all of the above? One preferred over the other?
Yeah, I think it's like the Book Now feature and, providing the opportunity for like new grads or individuals looking to break into tech to like book those sessions or appointments with me and like having that visibility really help to kind of like help them with those goals or like whatever it is they're looking to achieve with a job in the tech industry, right? Whether it's like working on the front end, working on the back end, or doing QA or whatnot. So,
Perfect. And so I took a look, obviously, at your LinkedIn profile, your Accomplishr profile. And it looks like you have mentored through a ton of different, not a ton, but many different
yeah,
programs.
yeah.
So what is it that drives you to continue showing up as a mentor through these different communities and platforms?
I feel like it doesn't only like help me be better as like a communicator and working with other people, but also like help the other person understand like what the expectation is and like how long it might take them to get to, finding that first job or figuring out how to kind of pivot from where they are now in their current career. So there's a bit of a give and take, and one part of it for me, like I mentioned already, is like helping me with like being in that role of where I'm like more team oriented or like individual oriented and like the coaching and the mentoring, and then the other part is like giving back to like the individual or like uh on a group setting to help those figure out how to navigate the tech industry
Mhm.
in finding a technical role, but also like if they're looking to find a design role or people management or something like that, kind of shifting my approach based on that and also like their personality and what their work ethic is like. So yeah.
Perfect. And then wondering, you've worked in a variety of roles. You've worked in the public
Yeah.
sector, you've worked in private sector. How do the different environments that you've worked in shape how you relate to people? And then also, how do people coming from those different environments, like how do you kind of separate two, right? Because you worked with the Canadian
Yeah.
Army, probably a
Yeah.
very different group of people than, a small startup in terms of like
Oh,
the way they handle themselves professionally and all of that. So how do you kind of like merge those two sides of things?
yeah, so I mean, I guess the way I approach it is like I use my sociology degree and it's just like different culture, right? So just as long as you have an open mind and you understand like what the expectation is, it's pretty easy to kind of navigate two sides of that coin, right?
Mhm.
So I mean, when it came to like working in the public sector, like as long as you're respectful to the people who, work their way up or like people in the military and that, it's pretty much like working for any other company. And
Mhm.
then the same can go for even working in private too, because like they might be working there for like 5, 10, 15 years. So just kind of like, working with them along as opposed to working alongside them. And I know that could sound a little confusing, but what I mean by that is they're there to be your mentor, right? Regardless if it's like private or public. So kind of making the most out of that opportunity of someone who's like your senior or someone who's like been there for maybe like 2 months more than you, and then using that to leverage your success in that role regardless of it being public or private. So, yeah.
Cool. Now, whether you are working with somebody who is kind of, fresh out of school, just starting out, just looking for their first job in tech, or maybe it's somebody who is pivoting into tech later in life, they've got professional experience already, or maybe they're moving from one vertical of tech into another, like maybe they're
Yeah.
going from like software to AI or
Hmm.
cybersecurity to infrastructure or something like that. What is a common piece of advice that you find yourself giving? Like, is there any standard piece of advice that you would give to somebody who is coming into tech or like pivoting into tech?
Mm. I guess one piece of advice would be like to have a lot of patience and persistence because it will take longer than you think it will
Mhm.
to break into tech. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think, you hear a lot, especially now, where people are like, oh, if you're gonna get a job, like if you're gonna do something new, if you're going to school, like go into
Yeah.
tech, go into tech. Because everything we do is so technology based these days.
Yeah.
But I think people have to kind of remember that it's not like a golden bullet. Just because it's
Yeah.
like the big thing doesn't mean that
Yeah.
everyone finds exactly what they're looking
It's
for in the
true.
first like two
Yeah.
seconds.
Yeah. No,
Um,
it's very true.
what advice would you have for somebody who knew that they wanted to do something related to tech, but maybe found themselves on the wrong side of things? Like maybe started in they started in software. Now they're like, oh, I wish I went
Yeah.
into security instead, or like something like that. Like, would you
Okay.
encourage them to stay where they are? Would you encourage them to pivot? Would you encourage them
I
to
mean,
find a way to bridge the two?
yeah, it really depends on like what their situation looks like and if there's a possibility for them to kind of like you said pivot to a different role in the company
Mhm.
and like leverage the skills that they already have in like a transferable way. Because like the most important thing is like if you're looking for a new role that's something different in tech is like figuring out what the transferable skill you have so you can make that pivot and then like from there whatever skill you don't have figure out a way to like get those skills so you can make that pivot, right?
Mhm.
So and then like having a genuine conversation with like whoever your manager is or like who your senior is to figure out like, oh, is there opportunity at the company that I'm working at to make this pivot? And if
Mhm.
there isn't, it's okay. And to be quite honest, it's perfectly normal. And with that in mind, like typically, if the person still want to go down that route, well, then like they kind of have to evaluate whether or not they want to, go work for another company in a role that align with the type of work that they want to, you know, uh, be involved in, or if it's the case where they don't have all of those skills from what they've accumulated with respect to their transferable skill if they want to take some time to like amass those and get more comfortable so that they can make that pivot, right? So really depend on like the person and how much time they have, what their objective is, and how much they apply themselves. So because like a person or like an individual is only going to get so far as they push themselves, right? So
Mhm.
yeah.
When, when I think of my career, I've been working in digital marketing since like I don't want to age myself, but like since 2008, right? It's been a
Okay.
while,
Yeah.
since like the start of, social media, basically.
Yeah.
And a lot of what I've learned to do, I have a ton of certifications now. Along the way, I've gathered certifications, but a lot of
Yeah.
it's just been kind of like learning on the job. And as
Yeah.
something new comes out, making sure I'm like staying on top of what's going on. How much would you say, or could you really say, is there a division of, like you need these basic certifications in tech, again, whether it's like software or cybersecurity or whatever,
Yeah.
or is it more about amassing like hands-on opportunities rather than like the book side of things? If we consider a
Yeah.
certification to be like a book type of thing,
Yeah.
what would
That's
you
a
say?
fair
Are they
question.
equally important?
Uh, I wouldn't necessarily characterize as being equal. It's more of like a mixture, and it
Hmm.
really depends on like what kind of job you're going for. But I guess what I would say is that like it's good to kind of like use certification as a way to learn because
Hmm.
then like you're getting the certification, but you're also like learning as you go. So there's like you're killing two birds with one stone. And then like once you get a job, right? Like not to stop getting certification, then that's kind of one of the mistakes that I made. It's like, oh, I'll be able to like learn a lot more on work as opposed to like just getting certification, doing a mixture of the both. And like
Hmm.
what I learned over the past like maybe a year or 6 months and that is that it's really dependent upon you as like an individual to figure out where you want to take your career. And that involves like not just, being involved at work and doing your job and like fulfilling your responsibilities, but also like pushing yourself uh, individually, technically, professionally, so that like you're not just learning the things that you need to do your job, but you're learning the things that will help you with progressing in your career, or if you want to work in a different role, right? That's the type of thing that will help you with doing that. So, because it's just
Hmm.
kind of like it's like a natural cause of events. Like, oh, as you go through, like, accumulating certification and experience, if you want to get a different job in something adjacent, then it's going to be a lot easier for you to do that. So,
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. I know that, anecdotally, some of my first jobs out of college, I I was the person who anytime somebody was like, "Oh, we have like I need some help with this." I was like, "I can do it. Oh, I'll do it." Like,
yeah,
I sign up, take me, because I figured the more stuff I could learn, and even if it didn't really have anything to do with what my job was in that moment, if I could find a way, it was all within the same company, right? The more I knew about the company, the more I could apply to like other things, and then it kind of just built on it where you see some people who they go to work and they're like, this is my job. This is it. This is all I'm doing today. I will not
yeah,
do one extra thing,
yeah,
which good for them, I guess, to be able to set those boundaries. I'm
yeah,
always the person who's like, oh, let me handle that. I'll take on that. And you just
mm,
kind of learn, I would say, like, I'm learning through osmosis. Like, I'm just like paying
yeah,
attention in the meeting. I'm like watching what someone's doing. And then I try my hand at it. And then I build on it and get the certification and apply it to something else. Um, but I don't regularly, sit down and spend a few grand on a course or something like that
oh,
because I've got the
yeah,
knowledge of it from like the hands-on, but then I can take the certification and pass the certification because I learned in like a hands-on capacity. Obviously, tech is
okay,
different because if you don't
yeah,
know how to do something, like if you don't know how to code something and you've learned hands-on, but there's like a lot of different parts to that. But I know that just
yeah,
like from my experience, I think the person who's willing to go outside the scope of their job description, not like crazily,
within
but
reason, yeah,
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 within reason, they're willing to like try a new project, take on a new thing. It is better for everybody. And they tend to be the person that people remember when
yeah,
it's time to think of, a promotion and managers are sitting
that's
down
true,
and being like, oh, we have this job coming up. Is so and so ready to be a manager? Well, the
yeah,
person who's constantly offering to help and like putting themselves out there going to be at the top of the list over the person who's like, I will not do a
yeah,
single extra iota of
no,
work.
it's very true.
Okay. And then we have got one final question. Um, if somebody were to book a session with you on Accomplisher, what would the type of guidance and outcome be? Like, what could they expect from working with you? What do you envision as kind of the the ideal client relationship? Like, what are you working on together? How often are you meeting? Is it, just a one-off discovery call type of thing where you're like, hey, we'll do a strategy session, go over your goals, here's a couple ideas? Or is it like a longer term? Like what's your working situation?
Yeah, so I mean, it really depend it's really dependent upon like the individual and what they're looking to get out of meeting with me. So like if it's they want to just go over their resume or something like that, then like maybe it'll be like a few sessions or something like that. But if it's like a more ongoing thing, then I'll most likely have a conversation with them to figure out like what it is their goals are. And so we can work backwards from that and figure out what make the most sense for them specifically because like every individual is different. And
Hmm.
then typically like at first there'll be a lot or mostly synchronous like meetings and conversations and that because we're still getting to know each other and trying to understand like what it is you're looking to like accomplish and that sort of thing. And then over the course of time, it's like, oh, we'll do we'll do some things asynchronously. There'll still be synchronous
Hmm.
meetings, but maybe they won't be all the time. And it really depends on like, where you are in your journey, right? So if you're doing a lot of interview and you want to do interview prep, well then that won't be asynchronous, right? Whereas like if you want me to go over your resume, then like that probably will be asynchronous, like after the initial conversation, right? So
Hmm.
I'll be leaving comments or suggestions and that sort of thing, and just kind of like having that conversation, over LinkedIn or email or, Teams or something like that. So yeah, that's what it would
Right.
look like.
Perfect. Okay, well, that is it for our conversation. I am going to make sure that in the show notes we have got Daniel's Accomplisher link so you guys can go check out his profile. You can book those one-on-one meetings with him. And then you can also make sure to follow along if he hosts any fireside chats, if he puts up any blog content. Once you are following him, you'll be able to see all of that right inside Accomplisher. So, Daniel, thank you so much for speaking with me today. It was really
Thank you too.
great. Alrighty, have a great day.
You too,
Bye.
Courtney. Bye.